Hey Glow Up Gang, welcome back to the Glow Up Beauty Closet for another Big Beauty Tuesday where we gloss, we floss, and we boss. And we've got a new boss with us today. We have Mava Heim of Bread. If you have not heard of Bread yet, you will. If you're wandering through Sephora and you see these gorgeous faces on the shelves, that's Bread. And I'm going to tell you, get into this. This is really fun. Mava came up with a very tightly curated collection of products, hair care products for the black market. A hair mask, a hair wash, this incredible hair oil I highly recommend. And look at it, isn't it gorgeous? And this fun scrunchie, which both looks great with my outfit and is great for my hair. And Mava graciously decided to speak with the Glow Up today about the creation of her line, which started in Australia, of all places, and what it's like to build a new essential. Your line dropped at the perfect time, and I was actually shocked to find out you were Australian. I have so many questions for you about this line, because I'm going to be honest, and this is me showing my ignorance, and I'm just going to show it because I'm vulnerable like that. But
please do.
Obviously, when we think of Australia, we think of when we think of people of color on Australia, we might think of Indigenous people. We might think of Asians nearby. Maybe we think of South Africans. I don't know that I think of West Africans in Australia, but that is your family's origin. And what was that like? Yeah. Growing up in Australia, in a family who not only is West African, but also kind of in the beauty business there. What was that like, doing black beauty in Australia?
Yeah, my mum had an African hair braiding salon in Perth in the 90s. And to your point, there wasn't a lot of immigration back then, especially from, West Africa or even any other African countries. And so it was the first in Perth for sure, probably one of the first African braiding salons in the whole of Australia. And I spent a lot of time there in my youth, on the weekends and after school and during school holidays. And I would help her braid and answer phones and, take appointments and sweep floors. So, I got to kind of stay connected to my roots in that way and through this craft of braiding that my mum pretty much brought to the city. And I was also very lucky in the sense that we got to travel back to West Africa quite a lot. That was really important to my parents and to my mum specifically. We would go every year or every second year. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. And as it relates to beauty specifically, I feel ultimately so grateful that I had that experience from my mum, and she became the ultimate kind of beauty entrepreneur that I learned everything from.
Aside from this early experience, in your mom's salon, you also have extensive beauty industry experience. You've worked for some of the biggest names around. Procter & Gamble and L'Oreal. And tell me a little bit about that. And I guess I'm also curious, I read actually that you, in the time that you worked with these huge companies, you never worked on a black beauty brand.
It was actually my experience working on, all of those mainstream brands that I felt like, we weren't being spoken to, and just kind of being behind the curtain, seeing the way that, decisions get made. I was becoming really frustrated because I felt like, we're not going to see change until women of color, and specifically black women, are in charge. I think it's one thing to provide, better products and services for the customer, but at the end of the day, as black women, we're driving the beauty industry, we're spending all of our dollars, and we're not seeing the economic benefit of that in the same proportion to how much we're actually contributing. And so part of that for me was ownership. We need more black women owning brands, and not just brands, but big brands. We need to be owning the L'Oreals and the Estee Lauders. And I think I just got to a point where I was I'm busting my butt, and I have no idea ultimately where all of this money that we're making is going. I don't know these people. And so a big part of my drive for wanting to start Bread was really to take the skills and the knowledge that I had from that experience and try to create one of those brands, so that not only can we have, another Black woman at the helm of a brand, but hopefully inspire other younger women, and then also be in charge of, the purse strings.
This is not ambiguous about who you had in mind when you created these products. And frankly, I'm going to say right here, you had me at the hair wash, because anything that smells like a lemon pound cake is basically, we're in. This is not like, oh, go spend $100 on this conditioner, which we know exists out there in the market. This is like, go spend $28 on this conditioner, which is, it's not the same as like your $6.99, that you might get elsewhere, but the products work, and I think it sits comfortably in that space when you're talking about doing a small amount of things well. Now, I know you've been getting a lot of buzz over this, and it is admittedly my hero product. You can see I've quite a dent into mine, so I'll be buying more soon. This is red hair oil. You call this everyday gloss, and I would agree. And I mean, I'm tilting this like this because I really want our viewers to see how light it is. I think we're really used to a lot of like heavier products on natural hair and natural textures.
It was about this idea of like lazy girl hair, done undone hair, which hasn't really been part of the conversation in Black hair and the natural hair movement specifically. And to your point, it has been very centered around lots of product and like really long routines. And I remember when I first transitioned, I was like, I don't have time for this. And I think that there's room for that and for the people who want to do that, which is amazing. And I just felt like I wasn't being spoken to as someone who doesn't want to spend that much time on my hair. And, we started with wash day because that was, the first part of the routine where I was like, how do I wash my hair? How do I make this quick and simple? And then we'll move on to like other parts of the routine. But it was definitely something that we had in mind, and really kind of tapping into this idea that you don't have to use a lot of product. Like, we're here for whatever you want to do to your hair, and it doesn't have to be a lot. We just want to provide really simple products and solutions to help you get there.
You really start to understand this whole anti-frizz idea as like kind of anti-Black, it's like anti-Blackness.
Yeah.
It's fine to have frizz and just get that frizz healthy as can be, like, and go for it. I love, because I love my frizz, actually, I really do.
Me too. These are beauty ideals that are made up, and you've been taught to think that frizz is bad, and when your hair looks this way, it's bad, when really, like, we get to define what that means and what good hair looks like, and what is aspirational in hair. And so as a brand, like, I hope that we can be part of the conversation and driving that forward and making frizz aspirational. One, because I personally love it. And then two, it means that we can lean further into this idea of casual hair and lazy girl hair, because if we're embracing frizz, that just makes it so much easier because your hair, in the way that you like it, is probably going to be frizzy. And so that anti-frizz language is, it does demonize a particular type of hair more than others. And then that just so happens to be us. So I really want to be a brand that takes an anti-frizz stance. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, wanting to have like smoother hair or whatever it is, but I think taking out that language will go a really long way. And you can still have really healthy hair that does look woofy and frizzy too.